What's going on, everybody? Colin Neal, Luke Scott, Merry Christmas from all of us here at Sam Houston Sports Talk. And what do you know? What do you have on there, Luke? Oh no, I have the same thing on.
Oh
Oh wait,
man, we look good, Colin.
what happened? What could have possibly happened this late in the year? Oh wait, that is right. Sam Houston are your 2024 RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl champions. They beat Georgia Southern this past Thursday inside the Caesars Superdome, 31-26. That was overall, Luke. I will say New Orleans was a really fun experience. I learned a few lessons up there. Enjoyed some nice beignets from the famous Cafe Du Monde. Um, checked off a bucket list for sports more specifically, but overall, I think going to the Superdome is a bucket list thing overall because when you're in New Orleans, you kind of have to go see it at the very least. But really awesome stadium, home of the New Orleans Saints, of course. But of course, most importantly, Luke, the Bearcats taking a win over the Georgia Southern Eagles. That frankly, me and you were kind of concerned about, but we still picked the Bearcats because, of course, the Bearcats and first bowl game in FBS era, 1-0 in bowl games.
A tremendous accomplishment from us. Going from 3-9, Colin, to a
Oh my
10-win
gosh!
season. You look back on it last year, and now here we are. And now, obviously, you know, hindsight's 2020. But the way this team started to look during the middle of the season, we were both scratching our heads and saying, the wheels might be falling apart. And um, something we started off so hot, and then just started to kind of slow the train down there, but they picked it up in a great way to end the year on Liberty, to win that one, and then going to Georgia or coming to New Orleans to play Georgia Southern. Yeah, we both thought it was going to be a really close game, which it was, and um, I think we didn't think as much scoring would happen as it was, and neither one of us are complaining about that. But it was such a great game. Sam Houston thoroughly dominated uh, pretty much from the start of the first quarter. Um, got a little squirrely there in the third, but closed out very well in the fourth quarter. And you just couldn't have picked a better venue, um, for it to be at. Sam Houston showed up in numbers, a huge crowd for us.
That's awesome.
We got to see a lot of them before and after the game around the town. It was a great scene for Sam Houston. And I'm very pleased with how he played. Tremendous accomplishment, and hey, we left champions of the New Orleans Bowl. It's hard to beat that in your first ever bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started. There was this thing I read from y'all hear me reference him and his ratings a lot. Kelly Ford. Computers, analytics. That's Kelly Ford's thing. One of the things that he said was one thing that could just completely change the dynamic of a matchup. One of the plays in all of sports is a pick six. Well, the Bearcats got that literally or not even 5 minutes into the first quarter, thanks to Jalen Jimerson, who we were high on ever since he announced his commitment to transfer to Sam Houston. And, you know, in 3 games, Luke, 2 games rather, 3 interceptions, and of course that going back to the Liberty game, and of course that pick six early in the game, one and another interception, a very impressive one hand snag. He accounted for two of the Bearcats' 4 interceptions they had on J.C. French, the Georgia Southern Eagle quarterback. But Jalen Jimerson, you might as well be calling him Jalen Himerson because he is the 2024 New Orleans Bowl Most Valuable Player. Gave him a very cool looking helmet as like a little trophy thing. You'll see it in the thumbnail when I put it in there for y'all folks tuning in on YouTube. But just an absolute legacy game for Jalen Jimerson, and he is now going to go into the NFL draft. And I on and you're kind of pointed out like you said to yourself like this guy's a pro.
Yeah, I was talking it from the beginning. And kind of early on during the season, it was more Caleb Weaver and Isaiah Cash really taking the spotlight back there in the safety position. In the past few games, when Sam needed him most, Jalen Jimerson was the guy to step up, and the guy had been he'd executed so well all throughout the season, and whether it's been open field tackling and coverage. Um, he's been so good, and we really saw his best two games as Bearkat down the stretch when they needed it most against Liberty, and in the bowl game. And this was the guy that could have opted out and went straight to the draft, but um, he said, "No, I'm going to play this game and finish this thing out," and played fantastic. I mean, he was flying all over the place, Colin. We were up there in the press box. It was him and Gaither. I was when we when us two were talking to each other, we said, "Look how quick they are." I mean, I don't know if Georgia Southern had seen two guys just flying all over the field as quick as those two guys were that day. I mean, it was in the run game, it was in the passing game, first down through fourth down. I mean, these two guys were absolutely flying, and that first possession for Sam, didn't really go anywhere. And for Jalen Jimerson to step up and make a play to get the Bearcats on the board, I think it really settled in the team early on, and huge, just boost and instant juice for Sam Houston. It kind of deflates the wheels there from Georgia Southern there, and Jimerson was the key. Um, he was just, I mean, he was absolutely terrific. I mean, I couldn't imagine a better game be played by a nickel than what he did. I mean, it was really impressive. Really the entire defense, but like you said, Jalen Jimerson, Jimerson is Himerson.
Exactly. I mentioned that it was two out of the four interceptions the Bearcat defense got on JC French. Gaither had that one interception, and Bryson Hayes had that big one late in the game to stop a very threatening Georgia Southern drive. They were still down by two scores at that point, Luke, but you still don't want to give a team like the Eagles a chance because the offense their offense had flashes of like wow this no wonder this team got to 8 wins at some points and also um, Bryson Hayes also had a sack. Richard Atwood Jr. had a sack. Um, who am I missing? Oh yeah, Isaiah Nixon. He also had a sack as well. So 3 sacks, 4 interceptions on the day for the Bearcat defense. We'll get more into that later because a lot of the guys have obviously left for uh, Denton, Texas, North Texas, the Mean Green. We'll get more into that in a second because the dynamic of that was very interesting. The offensive side of things, I will I would say I think you can point to the obvious that Hunter Watson, yeah, like 213 yards, 23 or 28, tied a record in the bowl for 14 straight completions. He also had a touchdown. The run game was not there um, that that night. Luke, 32 carries, 54 yards, only 1.7 on average. So they had to utilize the passing game a little bit, and probably honestly two big plays from our guy Simeon Evans that tunnels that little wide receiver screen with the line pulling out and like just laying Ham Cold Diederich with like a tremendous block, and you can see the others like Dawn going up there and blocking up field, and
Hagler.
Hagler as well. But honestly, Luke, the biggest play was when the Bearcats had 20. See, 31 minus 3. There's a 21. Yeah. So the Bearcats were at 21 points. It was, gosh, what was it? 21-19. That's right. 21-19. It was a 8 play, 73-yard drive, and the Bearcat and Evans had that nice catch, but then it just broke tackles, like broke a few of them, just dragged the like two Georgia Southern players with him to get down to the one, and then eventually Watson had a QB sneak to get into the end zone, and then PAT made it 28-19 to make it a two-score game in that fourth quarter, and that was the drive before that Bryson Hayes interception on J.C. French. So if I were to give an offensive MVP, I would give it to Simeon Evans because he had two big plays in that game that drove that offense to, get in the points that they needed.
Yes, I mean Evans was huge. He was the guy that could really, that was really able to kickstart kind of the passing game. Him and I think a day he actually played very well on the stat sheet. He didn't have um, tremendous, huge numbers, but I thought when he got the ball, him and Noah Smith really, gave an extra, thing of juice for this team. And yeah, Seaman Evans was great. I mean, there's that play that he got the ball and broke a few tackles all the way down to the one, Colin. I mean, it was a straight up yak play. I mean, that's what it was. That's what we tweeted. And
I wish his knee wasn't down because that would have been an ESPN top 10,
yeah,
man. I really
it
wish his
really
knee was down.
it would have, and it was that could have been that could have been the one um, to really ice it. Even though it turned out we got a touchdown anyways, but um, Simeon Evans was great, and this was a guy transferred from Army, played quarterback there. Was hesitant to move to receiver, but really progressed throughout the year last year, and this year really took that wide receiver one type role, right? We thought it was going to be Ife, and then we thought it was going to be Quavez. Well, it turned out it was going to be Simeon, working out of the slot sometimes, and then really in the past, a couple of months, he said, let's just move this guy out wide and see what he can do. And we really saw someone that can make a play. Um, whether it's from his route running, just from his ability just to go and get the ball up in the air. And this was a tremendous pickup for this team, from last year, and um, it really paid off dividends. And this guy was a guy that battled for a long time just to be able to play last year, and to see him perform the way he did. It's tremendous. And I also want to highlight Hunter Watson, Colin. I mean, Hunter Watson, you couldn't have, um, from where the run game was. We ran the ball pretty well that first drive, and after that, it was nothing. If you would have told me that we would have won this game, Colin, with him throwing 213 yards and a touchdown, and us, running for less than 2 yards a carry or whatever it is, um, I would have said no way we win this game. No way. If we run for less than 2 yards a carry, but we did, and really it was because of Hunter Watson's arms, and our receivers were able to make plays when we needed to. The defense played well, gave the Bearcats a few extra possessions, and we cashed those in. At halftime, Colin, I remember telling you, I told Brian Adams over there from the Bearcat Sports Network, um, I said, okay, it's 21-10. We should be up by 30 in this game from how well our defense has been playing. Um, the offense couldn't really get anything going, and then the third quarter, shut out. But the fourth quarter, they really made some huge drives, big responses from Georgia Southern, and it was Simeon Evans and Hunter Watson's that connection was really able to take the cake and um, you know be the main problem that Georgia Southern just couldn't solve.
Shout out as well to Jaden Cardell. I thought his punts were really good.
Yep.
Outside of that first one, I was kind of a shank at, oh, well, that happens. But I thought he punted really well, especially on that um on that last punt that he had. And that drive was after the Bryson Hayes interception. I had to correct myself from earlier, but Luke, they for some reason Sam Houston was throwing kept on throwing the football. Like they didn't run the ball a single time, which I get the running game wasn't working, but passing the ball unless you're for sure unless you're for sure it's going to be completed and stay in bounds, that's not really an effective way to run out the clock. But thankfully Cardell had a nice booming kick that sent the returner back for Georgia Southern. I'm trying to think of the name, but it was Dallas, Josh Dallas, the returner for on punts, and
Well, he had a good game too, though.
yeah, he did. And but C.J. Johnson, who transferred from Memphis, just stripped it or not even stripped, man. He just ripped it clean off from Dallas, recovered it, and then that set up that Pavon field goal a few plays later. So Brad Cornelson said it, pretty accurately in my opinion. Complimentary football right there. that happened. Defense helped out the offense helped out the defense, and then the special teams helped out the offense, and then the
Yeah,
offense helped out the special teams.
and it really wasn't. Cardell's yards are average. He only averaged 41 yards a punt. Um, but it was where we put him, and multiple punts inside the 10, one over 50-yard punt. It was whenever you needed him to step up and pin Georgia Southern back to try to kill some momentum. He was able to do that, and Pavon, nailing a field goal. I know it was a short one, um, but you needed all the points you could get, right? And you just couldn't afford. This is one of those games where your defense is playing so well. When you're able to score the points, you have to be able to cash in the opportunity, and we did. We found a way to win. Um, Special teams. I thought on coverages they weren't the best. Um, I thought Georgia Southern was a little bit better there, but I think that might be the only place Georgia Southern was better than us on the field. I mean, really, that was it. Returning kicks and punts, they were much better than us. Other than that, I mean, we dominated this game. I
Also,
mean, that was the one.
also
Go ahead.
covering on kickoffs too, because
Yeah,
the kickoff coverage made the offense start at very vulnerable spots, like deep in Sam Houston's own territory.
yeah, and you know that's tough, but also our offense went 75 yards and 88 yards, right, in two possessions. So we played one of the best games we've played all year, and we had talked about us not playing a complete game for the entire year. I think this was maybe our first or second complete game this season, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, especially against a very sneaky tough um, opponent in the Eagles, and also Luke. We'd be remiss to not mention just the fact that a lot of these players on the team, including a majority of the starters on defense, entered the portal and were taking visits and they got offers. But all of them chose to keep playing. And also, you got to also remember Casey Keeler leaving, of course. Keeler and former general manager Clayton Barnes were at the game. We got to talk to them for a bit. Um, and also Phil Longo getting hired as the new head coach for Sam Houston football. We haven't really dived into Phil Longo's hiring, but I kind of want to save that for the next pod to really dive deep into the hiring because there's a lot of stuff to really go through and uncover. So keep an eye out for that. So if you haven't already, be sure you hit that subscribe button. If you already have, hit that bell notification so you can be notified when that next pod comes out and many other kinds of content that we are thinking of rolling out, especially heading into the new year, 2025. But all that being said, Luke, also with a lot of your defensive staff leaving as well, Skylar Cassidy being the main one, but also Julian Nelson, defensive backs coach, Reggie Johnson, linebackers coach, Greg Richmond, defensive ends coach, and Coach Ike, defensive tackles coach. So and this was on the 20th. So this is before the game, um, or not before the game. This was almost after the game. Um, just a lot of It's easy to get distracted, Luke, to say the least. You're on the break of reaching the 10 win mark, going to your first bowl game. Despite all that, still got the job done.
Yeah, it says a lot about this team, Colin. I mean, it's an older team. You're looking up and down this team, and it's a lot of seniors and juniors and transfers. And I mean, these guys have been around the block, and they understand. Um, you know, they understood what this game meant for this university and for the program. And I think they would just want to be part of something special. And a lot of these guys, the ones that were a part of the national championship squad, they learned from a lot of really good players, a lot of talented players, some NFL guys, right? And they saw an opportunity here to make history, and Coach Cornelson kind of talked about that in the press conference after the game, and it shows a lot about the culture and what it meant, and these players really understood what this game was, and it's easy to say, if you're a Texas fan or a Texas A&M fan or an LSU fan, right? Who these big schools, the New Orleans Bowl, wouldn't really mean much to you, but for a smaller school like us, this is a Super Bowl. I mean, really, I mean, this is a huge deal, and um, it being the first bowl game, the players really bought into that, and they wanted to experience the bowl game. Also, the city of New Orleans. I mean, how cool is the Big Easy, right?
That was
But
awesome.
right, exactly. But um, you could just tell it this game meant more, and they showed up, and it shows the character of the individual guys, but the coaching staff, and what what's been building for the past 2 years.
This season has had a lot of historical aspects to it. Um, the first home game of the year was the biggest crowd since the McNair game, the Alcorn State versus Sam Houston game 30 years ago. And you also had, and then you had the revival of a old time rivalry between Sam Houston and Texas State, and you won that game, and then you had that Liberty matchup at the end of the year, in which we all knew, we all thought heading into the season was probably going to be the biggest conference matchup you because that game could have either meant that you were either going to a bowl game or it was for a spot in the Conference USA title. And it became important in Conference USA title wise. Did Sam Houston make it to the conference title game? Unfortunately, not. But you know what? Like you said, we Sam Houston won the New Orleans Bowl, first bowl victory in the FBS era. Not counting the ones in the '50s with the Refrigerator Bowl, um, was one of the ones. Um, but overall, and also just like the all the storylines at the end of the year, and heading into it, just a lot of adversity that the team has overcome, and especially Luke in our first year doing Sam Houston Sports Talk, just coincidence? I think not. So
It was, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better spot, right? New Orleans being close to Houston and Huntsville and Dallas area, where all the main alumni are. It was an easy drive, Colin. I mean, we just hopped on I-10 and got on down there, just like so many people listening and watching this, right? Um, it's a great location and close enough to go and make a week out of it, make a weekend out of it, yet also meaningful enough that it wasn't just like we were a 6-win team and just barely snuck in. I mean, this was a history-making team. This was a really good team, and with also all the transfers, leaving, it shows what type of quality was on this team, really. And people, from the outside can kind of sweep it under the rug and saying, "Oh, okay, well, it's Conference USA, it's Sam Houston." Just watch all these guys. Just watch them. This coaching staff. You know, Skylar Cassidy is going to be a head coach somewhere, a really good head coach somewhere. Um, Case Keeler, Hall of Famer, Cornelson. We've had our ups and downs to them, but he coached a great game, right? And in a short notice, right? All the assistant coaches on the defensive side, I think they could all really go somewhere, right? It's such a good group, and for us to go to New Orleans was really cool.
I mentioned earlier with like the defensive, a lot of the defensive staff leaving. Also, they did. It wasn't enough that they had to take some staff within North Texas. Also had to take some Bearkats with them as well. Um, Samaje Burrell, Richard Outland Jr., Davion Armstead, Trey Fields, and Quincy Wright, and Bryson Hayes even, and also David Fisher.
Richard
And
Allen Jr.
yeah, they're Charlotte Jr. But David Fisher caused a bit of controversy. I was asleep when this order when the article from Mean Green 24/7 came out, but thanks to good old sideline Sam Houston, he found this interesting quote. Also, I'll give him credit. Fisher was Fisher took some shots. Seemed to took up some shots at the offense. Um, I so he's like Fisher says for sure, that definitely played a big part. But I wanted to play for a good, high-powered offense. I've never played for a real offense, even in high school. And so I knew North Texas had that good gunslinging offense. I knew if we bring this defense over there, um, North Texas is going to be scary. Now, he did clarify his comments. He reached out. Um, he says that Fisher reached out and explained his comment wasn't to look down on our offense. It clearly got the job done once in games. He was referencing his experience with run heavy offenses here and in high school rather than the gunslinging or high power offenses such as that at UNT. Also realizes he probably should have worded it differently. Um, so interesting comments. Well, I don't know. I didn't really get to ask you what did you think about it.
Yeah, I think he meant well. I don't think he really meant to just put the offense on full blast there. Um, I actually got to talk to him after the game, after we got back, and he's a really cool guy, and seeing him around his people, and um, it was cool seeing him like that. But I don't think he really meant anything like the way it came out, and um, I understand why he wants to leave. I mean, I get it. You want to go see, you want to go see other places and do things like that. And hey, if you haven't played for a high powered offense, go get fine. Go to UNT. Go with your boys right over there. But there could be one coming to Sam Houston here pretty soon. So um, I don't read much into it. David Fisher was a great player for us for years here. He's a starting corner, did really well. Um, had some huge moments for us for the past few seasons. So I thank him for his service, and I move on. I don't hold any ill will to Fisher,
Yeah, I don't either. I think could it have been worded
and I
better?
don't think the team will. I don't think he went
Yeah.
off. I mean, I
Could
I,
it
I
could,
don't
could it
buy
have
that.
could it have been worded a bit better? Yeah, sure, but I don't think Fisher was trying to give one last jab at Sam Houston or whatever as he was thinking. But just I thought that was kind of interesting thing that was trending uh, yester yesterday.
It's not the best comment to make, though. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Again, it could have been worded a bit
yeah.
differently, but I don't think he actually meant it to be an ill will or anything like that. But yeah, Sam Houston, your 2024 Oil Carriers New Orleans Bowl. And honestly, Luke, I am already itching for next year to come because of all the changes that happened, obviously, with Phil Longo. I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear a lot of news over the next couple of weeks. You saw Phil Longo was having had a recruitment dinner um, the other night, so he's getting started early. And also, Luke, I'm not gonna.
What a post! What a Twitter post by Phil Longo, by the way.
Yeah, that was something. There's something about him that it seems like Longo's more of a is like a big Twitter guy, maybe.
He might be. Maybe not as much as Coach Carthel is over there at SFA, but Phil Longo, he might like to tweet a little bit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we'll see. But there's also to kind of tease the next pod episode. I do have a tough question. There's a very tough question that everyone's kind of afraid to not ask but to answer because it could really affect uh, how next year's roster outlook is going to be, especially at a key important position. I'll say that. I'll let you think about it, and if you know what thinking of asking, great. Good for you. I'm just doing some teasing for the next pod episode. Let's look around Sam Houston Athletics real quick before we end this episode. We're not going to really you know stick to the other sports really that much because a lot of its own news. We took a bit of a break, especially with work, family life, and all that, and getting
Christmas.
Christmas, getting ready for the holidays. And it is weird that it's already Christmas Eve. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it was just yesterday. It was Thanksgiving. Um, but for basketball, women's basketball, just a day or so before Sam Houston football got the victory. They went on the road to Southern Utah, Cedar City, and got the win over there by double digits. Um, Again, Luke, I don't I hate repeating the same thing over and over again, but the jury is honestly still out on women's basketball.
It is, but I mean, also 7-3 though. Looking into the season, if you would have said 7-3, I think in the year we said, okay, great. We would have taken it. Um, I would say not many impressive wins, but not any bad loss. I mean, not many bad losses. Maybe the UTSA that was bad, but other than that,
That was kind of ugly.
yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I'll give you that one. But other than that, I mean, it's par for the course. I think. I think they've done well enough to get by. But you're right. I mean, this next stretch of games starting here after New Year's, it's conference play, and that's where the meat and potatoes are of the schedule. So, um, it's very different from the men's schedule, as in a lot of really good teams the men have played. Women's teams haven't played many great teams, but they've taken care of business of where they've needed to. So 7-3 is good. We'll take it. Undefeated at home, gotta love that. But now is where the real tough part of the schedule starts.
Gotta gotta take care of the basketball though. Luke, 24 turnovers to Southern Utah, and again, I still say the jury's still out because Southern Utah is was 1-9 going into this game,
Yeah,
and so I'll not in their one win. I can find it real quick. Comes up against Park, Arizona. It sounds like a damn high school, but whatever. Um, but still, it's jury's still out, and
yep,
but still going on the road, getting an 11-point win, double digit win. I I would expect that honestly in the kind of conference that Sam Houston is right now in Conference USA against a um, low tier school like Southern Utah. Again, 1-10 overall at the moment
yeah,
of recording this, and and Sam Houston was having trouble in that first quarter too, down by 4. And I think Luke, the issue that's gonna really hurt Sam Houston probably is not getting off to a hot start, not getting off to a decent start. If they get off to a slow start against any of these conference opponents, Luke, it's probably going to be the same repeat as last year. That's my honest opinion.
yeah. And you've also seen the team I think improve down the stretch. In the second half, I feel like Sam Houston's played much better than we have in previous years. And you look at the Houston Christian game, Colin. I mean that ball game is tied going into the fourth. And they find a way to gut out an 11-point win right against Houston Christian.
I apologize.
Um,
18 turnovers, not 24, but go ahead.
Still, the point stands, right? 18 turnovers is a little too much, but I think we've definitely seen improvement. Um, Scoring the ball still is hot and cold with this team as it goes. You live by the three, die by the three. It's those type of things, but um,
Though,
it's hard to take a lot away because we just haven't seen them really be tested by um, a similar type team.
you know,
I think.
here's the
Go
thing,
ahead.
though. Here's the thing, though. You say live by the 3, die by the 3, in which we kind of known them by that. They only shot 7 times from 3, 3 of 7. Overall, they went 27 of 69 from the field. They did a really good job at the free throw line, though. 15 of 19 at the charity stripe. So maybe there's a new style, that there's a new kind of way of scoring that Coach Justice wants to try to implement there, and not always trying to go for the 3 unless it's a good shot. Of course, no shot is better than a good shot.
Yeah,
Um,
but these are adjustments that probably need to be made. 1 or 2 years ago. Now they're being made, but um, you like to see it. You like to see it, but I just want to see against a team, in our conference to really, put a measuring stick and see where we really are. And I think these first two games at home is going to provide that.
Kayla Kelly lead the way with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. Kone with 13 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. Man, uh, great. My voice almost went out there for a moment, but we ball. So, but they finished conference. They finished non-con play. They're now on break until conference play starts. For them on Saturday, January 4th, at home against in-state rival the UTEP. Miners, and they go on a 2 game road trip. Or actually, no, excuse me, against New Mexico State 2 days before that on Thursday. So it's a 2 game homestand to begin conference play, which I think is really good for them. Um, and it was not Southern Utah that they faced first. That they faced the day before. It was Houston Christian, which they won 79-68. So I mean, Houston Christian, even if you're on a road, is still a team that you should beat by double digits, in my opinion. Kelly, 22 points, Kone, 8 assists. Asia Ward Armstrong with 9 rebounds. In this game, Luke they shot 29 of 60. So the shooting better last time I was Houston Christian. But we're gonna sidetrack that because I totally made a mistake. But we're gonna pretend that I didn't. So it's
It's
been a
okay. Hey,
it's been
it's
a crazy
Christmas
few.
Eve.
Yeah, it's been
Still recovering from New Orleans, getting back.
yeah
Long drive. We get it. Everyone
yeah
gets it.
yeah. But a team that a positive record to say the least, but definitely could be better overall, not just from a record standpoint, but just performance on the floor. The men's are having a very weird non-conference session of the season. They have one more game to go. They beat St. Thomas 80-54. Then they have University of Dallas on the 28th to end conference play before they go on the road. And in Conference USA play, the men's and women's play on the same day, just like the same opponents, just either home or away. So they begin on a on a trip to in the in this what mountain range is that? I can't remember what mountain range is that, but either way, you go to Las Cruces first. So it'd be
It's
Mudge versus Hooten.
it's
Uh,
the Rockies, Colin. They're
the
in New Mexico.
this is yeah, I know, but there's like a specific part of that mountain range that's called. I really can't remember. But yeah, the southern part of the Rocky Mountains, and then you go to El Paso to take on UTEP against a team that knocked you out in the tournament in the conference tournament last year. But Luke, overall, this season is just. I mean, they're 6-6, but this and because they beat St. Thomas and they went on and lost 110-78 to Pittsburgh. Overall, Luke, uh, even after that win against St. Thomas, I mean, of course, you're expected to win against non D1 schools. Um, well, if you're Rice, apparently you lose to non D1s. They lost to UNT Dallas 69-68. Very funny result, but either way, it just sucks to look when you don't have Damon Nicholas Jr. and Marcus Boykin. But I've heard that Marcus Boykin will be back by conference play, and I also heard that Damon Nicholas is going to take the medical redshirt this year and come back next year. So it's a big plus for next year, at least. But this year, Luke, it's just a weird year right now, and we all had the thoughts of like, man, this team could go dancing finally. But it's starting. Again, anything can happen in college basketball, but as of now, it looks like this may not be the year. But maybe just trying to give these freshmen and um, some minutes because you know you're hurt all over the place. But yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in conference play though, especially with how good the conference has been this year. Ninth on Ken Pomp, ahead of the American. That's saying something.
Yeah, I mean this conference has been very, very tough. You know, Liberty 12-1, La Tech 11-2, West Kentucky and UTEP both 9-3. I mean, and these teams are beating quality teams. That just shows you, really. And every coach says, "Hey, you gotta watch out for our league. Our league is good. Our league is actually really good." And there's some really good players, great coaches, great teams, right? And I think our record isn't entirely um, telling the full story. I think we're right there with Middle Tennessee and UTEP. Um, our schedule's been a little tough, obviously. Some things just haven't worked out in the ways that we had hoped with injuries and just some outcomes there. But I think there's a lot to take from. And I think we can look forward to UD. Um, and move into conference play. And if you can start conference play pretty well, that's really where you set yourself up. And if the conference really keeps up of what it's doing, right, and um, we could be looking at a multi-bid league right now, a two-bid type league. Not saying that they're going to be a 8 seed and a 10 seed, right? But it could be a 13 and a 14 or a 12 and 13, right? That it could be those type of seedings in the tournament. And if we get hot down the stretch, let's say you win your first 2 and 3 in conference, now we're cooking. Now you got something. I think getting Boykin back healthy and get him back in the starting lineup will be huge. Getting your starting point guard there, um, and that's the most important position on the field or on the court, right? I mean, the guy that's setting your offense and running the team, basically, that's the most important guy. I thought Hoofner's played pretty well. He's made some big shots and he's stepped up. Um, and Lamar Wilkerson's been fantastic, one of the best 3-pointer shooters in the country right now. And so if you can just get your offense rolling just a little bit with point guard play and play a little bit better defense down low, I think this team still we have yet to see you know even halfway good from this team. I mean, I don't think we've played fantastic at all, and I think that's out there for us. And I think if we can unlock that, you could really see something special down the stretch. It'll
You
be
know,
tough. It'll be tough.
while Conference USA football is not where it definitely does not where it need to be where it is right now. Like right now, Conference USA football is, you hate to say it,
Trash.
it's bad. It's ranked last. Maybe it's competing with the MAC for either the worst or second worst FBS conference. But you look at the other sports, uh, basketball, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball. You know, I'd say the three main sports overall, Luke, are football, basketball, baseball, add softball into baseball, of course. But man, Luke, if Conference USA can figure out football, this could be one of the most fun conferences overall in the next few years. We'll just kind of have to see where football goes within the next few years because there's been a lot of turnover when it comes to head coaches throughout most of the programs.
Of course, yeah. I mean, and football's where you make your money. Obviously, that's the biggest one and most important. Um, financially and when it comes to all those types of things. But certainly in baseball and basketball, both sides, women's and men's, it's a good league. So um, you
Volleyball as
just got to
well.
figure volleyball, yep, as well. You just got to figure some things out there on the football side of things, and I think also part of that is pulling from the FCS. Um, Kennesaw and us and Jacksonville State. You know, uh, this year Jacksonville State and us were two of the really good teams right in the league. And I think Kennesaw is building something there, and if you can get La Tech to usually of what La Tech can be and are, now you're looking at a pretty darn good league. So it just takes time. I think it's just one of those things, and the transfer portal will work itself out into whatever it becomes. And I think the college football playoff expanding at some point again um, will will turn some heads over, and so we'll see a difference there for us. So we'll see. I mean, the jury's still out with football, but um, I think it's definitely in an area in a location for the conference where it can be improved on quickly. Unlike like say the MAC, right, where it's kind of more landlocked. Um, Conference USA, has the location to be really good.
And you also got the additions of Missouri State and Delaware next year. Especially, I mean, I know Missouri State has I think they still have a bit of a ways to go for football wise, but Delaware is also a very well established FCS program. I think they're going to be really good in football and like basketball as well. Missouri State will be I think they're historically speaking, like not recently, but they're pretty good at basketball. But baseball, they've been on the up and up recently. Their football though, that was pretty good this year to end off their FCS era. So a lot of things to look forward to next year for Conference USA. Before we sign off, Luke, you kind of mentioned it there about the CFP. The first week of first round of the CFP, not probably not what everyone wanted. Blowouts. But also I feel like a lot. You know, there's a few media personalities that got exposed a little bit. Um, everyone was trashing on Indiana, SMU, and like they were all arguing this is why Alabama should have been in the playoff. And then Tennessee faced Ohio State in the shoe, and then got their doors blown off by them. It was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, and Tennessee was a team that Alabama lost to. And then you had Kirk Herbstreit just like being trashed on, Paul Feinbaum getting trashed on, Lane Kiffin. He was talking all that mess on Twitter, and then he didn't talk again. He didn't tweet anything about the CFP again when Tennessee Ohio State was going down. Um, and a lot of people now are like saying like, hey, like this is kind of not too bad overall. Like I think the 12-team CFP is here to stay. I think they're going to expand it at some point because money talks, more games, more money for the
Yep.
networks. But also more opportunities for other teams to like chime in. And we've been seeing a lot. We've been seeing advocation for a way for all conference champions to get in. I don't think that's going to happen. I would love for it to happen because it extends opportunities everywhere and like helps out the smaller schools as well in a way. But man, Luke, yeah, college football is so fun. Uh, Not just because of on the field, but also off the field stuff because of the jawing of fan bases at each other, the memes, and also just people just don't. And also, but the time where the college football community comes together, no matter who you're affiliated with, just to like dog on Kirk Herbstreit, Paul Feinbaum, and Lane Kiffin, like that was hilarious. But overall, Luke, the premise is what a sport, what a sport.
Colin, it's the closest thing we have in America to European soccer, where I guess also just world soccer, where it is tribal. I mean, it's where you went to school or who you root for, and it's tough, right? I mean, it's fun, it's brutal, it's intense, it's fun, it's everything you could want it to be. I will say, Coach Signetti of Indiana is the most annoying coach I have ever. I mean, could never beat Sam Houston. With Casey Keeler. Just saying. But uh, huge comeback. Shout out Ryan Humphreys there, friend of the program. Um, Signetti is annoying. I'm glad he lost. I like Kirk Herbstreit, but I'm not gonna like Colin. The whole dog thing. I mean, they put Ben on a pedestal, and I love the dog. I get it. It's a sad story. The dog dies, and then he just comes up and straight replaces Ben with his other dog, and it's like, well, it kind of takes away from the how special Ben was to the college ball, and it's like, now you're facing, not everyone wants to see your perfect looking dog. Some of us have just the good old mutt that's just struggling to get off the couch, right? But
Yeah, but it somehow lives for like another 15 years or something.
exactly. Colin, I thought the playoff was fine, but this is kind of how the system about the current system's flawed a little bit because it's against the teams that barely squeaked in against the teams that were in its conference championship, in the best conferences, right? Um, I thought the games kind of went how you expected. I thought the team that impressed me the most that lost was probably Clemson, and I think SMU had some really unfortunate plays. I mean,
Yeah,
really, I mean they drove up and down the field, um,
that's
that
what.
first few possessions and two pick
Yes,
sixes that kills you. If you turn those into scores, you're looking at a really good game right there,
yeah. It's
from SMU and Penn State.
I just felt so bad for SMU fans. It's just like damn. If like a
11-degree wind chill.
and also about there's also a story about how a lot of the fans like got diverted away from Happy Valley or something on that flight. I got to read that story, but because I saw it was from Mike Craven. But it looked like it was just a whole weird thing, and they put the Penn State band, or was it Penn? It was the not the Penn State band, the SMU band,
SMU.
all the way up there. Which, by the way, of course, Penn State being kind of classist a little bit. I mean, I
It's a state penitentiary, man.
it
Aggies of the North.
but
That's what I call them.
yeah, I think a lot of people would probably agree with you. Probably not A&M fans, but anyway, um, the I don't know. I have no problem with the playoff. I'm ready for the second round to come. I'm pulling for the Boise State Broncos. I still think that I kind of I was thinking about it because we didn't really talk about the CFP when it was set. I think I said Oregon, but I would not be surprised, Luke. As much as I kind of don't like to say it, I think Notre Dame is kind of a dark horse right now because I mean they are going to lose a defensive tackle up front. For the life of me, I can't remember his name. That's a really big piece. But that secondary look, that back end of the defense, it is so good.
Yeah.
It's hopefully they don't. Hopefully it's not like what if they don't give up as many points, of course, like they did against USC. Of course, that was a road game, so it was gonna be tough. And Lincoln Riley, for some reason, has these kind of games where he's coming in like looking really bad, but then throws up a competitive game against a really great team. But if Notre Dame's going up against a Georgia team that all they have is defense, and their offense is kind of a big question mark, especially with Carson Beck. I don't know how Gunnar Stockton is going to do. I don't even know if he's recovered from that damn concussion he had um, in the SEC championship game.
Makuba.
But if I'm just saying, if Notre Dame could stop ETN,
Yeah.
Georgia can't do anything outside of it because they don't want to try to test that. Then they're going to get what are they going to do? Test that secondary. So I think Notre Dame has a really good shot at winning this, but of course I'm pulling for the Boise State Broncos or Arizona State.
Terrific analysis, Colin. Really was. I think just like what you said, with Georgia struggling, I think with Carson Beck out, I think Notre Dame wins this game, Colin. And to be honest, you look at Georgia, what have they struggled against? They've struggled against mobile quarterbacks. You look at the Georgia Tech game, Haynes King, right, Longview, Texas product, transferred from A&M, and he ran all up and down, Georgia, and arguably probably should have won the game. I mean, Georgia Tech was the better team that day. And Riley Leonard for Notre Dame offers a very similar type player, where a guy that can run on you. He's not necessarily someone that's just going to throw the ball left and right, up and down the field, but he's going to make smart decisions and he can run the ball, in between the tackles and outside and get on the outside. I think this is a very favorable matchup for Notre Dame. I think Marcus Freeman's he still hasn't won any big games there at Notre Dame. I don't really think, but um, I think this could be a statement win, and you could be seeing Notre Dame in the playoff semifinal, which would be a huge accomplishment for the Fighting Irish. And I'm right there pulling for Boise State as well. I'm going to root for the small school. Ashton Genty is, an exciting player, a great prospect, Texas product. That's who I'm rooting for, along with you. I think Boise State can win that game, but I also have a little vested interest in Texas now. So,
Future Cowboy Ashton Genty.
um, maybe. I mean, I don't know where Ashton Genty would get drafted because people are down on running backs now, but I think with the kind of with Gibbs, I think, um, and Bijan and all these new guys coming into the league, I'm forgetting a few guys, but I think there might be a resurgence in people drafting running backs early. So, if the Cowboys could get Genty at 16, 7, pick 16 or whatever will be, right? Because we keep on winning these pointless games. Um, we could get him. We could get him, but I think there's a whole lot more need. We need more than a running back right now. So, but I'll take the best player in the draft.
Hey, that Sunday night game was awesome. That was that was very low key kind of fun to watch.
You know that strip in the Sam Houston's game, that fumble to ice the game,
Yeah,
very similar to Deron Bland's there in the fourth quarter as well. Very two similar plays. I wonder if saw little Deron Bland was watching Sam Houston and said, "Oh, I got to do that."
ah man, lots of great stuff going on in the world of college sports. You got conference overall for college basketball about to get started in a few weeks. The CFP is in full swing. Quarterfinals this weekend slash this week. Yeah, you want to say something?
I got a question. What was your favorite part of the trip down to New Orleans?
Man, the gambling. No, I'm just kidding. The just I mean, I would have said the game, but just honestly, just being there, just being there overall, seeing where this team is at. Because look, you know, because I was there for every single game when the last year, the 3-9 season, it was
Mm-hmm.
not fun. If you saw the tweet I made on the Same Sports on Twitter account, follow us by the way. It was like that. It was like a quote tweet to the person like, "What sports moment had you like this?" Like, and it's Rick from Walking Dead doing that deathly 1,000 yard stare, like sweating and all that, like in shock. And then I quote tweeted it. I put real ones no, and it was UTEP kicking that last second field goal to win it for them, and which that Sam Houston went 0-8 to begin the year. It's not to begin the year, but 0-8 overall.
Yeah,
Just look at it's just a year difference. It's night and freaking day. It's night and freaking day, and also being there with you and Christian, like that was awesome. That was fun, and I'll cherish that. I'll cherish that trip forever, man. It was awesome, and especially with Sam Houston Sports Talk, getting credentialed there for a bowl game. Overall, it's just I can't really point out a favorite part because I enjoyed it overall.
mine was the going from the beignets from Cafe Du Monde and checking out the French Quarter,
and
seeing the St. Louis
yeah,
Cathedral. That was really cool.
and then going
Um,
on Bourbon Street right after.
yeah, checking that out. Yeah,
There was
yeah.
there was literally a car fire like 10 minutes after we left the French Quarter, like right near the French Quarter. There's a freaking car fire.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Well, we'll share the story. So
Oh gosh.
we after we're done and we're with I'll leave names out, but some people from the athletic department and we were eating the beignets all together and we went over to the French Quarter just to check out, just a few things and watched some live jazz bands, which was cool. And we go into the cathedral and said, I think I asked I asked of when was it built or what something like that, and I was getting an explanation, and they talked about a fire burning the church down at some point. Um, and then a guy asked, "Was that an accidental fire, or was it like arson or something?" And we were like, I just kind of looked at him. We were like, "What the heck?" And then the guy, said the tour guide or whoever it was, explained it. Whoever volunteered from the church, whatever it was, and literally 10 minutes later, car fire in the French Quarter, and we were all like, "Man, that guy must have decided he wanted to start something." It was kind of funny, but
French Quarter,
um,
the oldest active cathedral in America, which
yeah, in the U.S.,
yeah, pretty
pretty neat.
cool interior as well. Well, I kind of don't like ending off on bad news, Luke, but I will say it is bad news. If for Sam Houston as well, a big piece that we're gonna miss next year. Simeon Evans, it looks like that he has committed to UNT.
Wow,
Yeah, he says I've been gone turning up the H. Now I'm back to turn up my city. And so yeah, he'll be going up to Denton. Uh, he committed, and so yeah, big piece we're gonna miss next year. Uh, but we'll get more into next year when it comes to the Phil Longo hiring again. We'll talk a bit more about that and the hiring in a more Longo centric podcast because there's a lot to uncover. So that'll either be out before New Year's or that'll be out after New Year's. But yeah, but that'll do it for us here on Samuelson Sports Talk. That's Luke Scott. I'm Colin Neal. And folks, Merry Christmas. And also, your Bearkats are 2024 RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl champions. Luke,
Eat 'em up,
what a
cats.
what a way to end a year in Emo Cats.